Thank you, folks. We're going to have a quick Q&A here. We're proud. I'm Isaac Zablocki. I'm Director of Film Programs here, and we're proud to have here, first of all, the producer of the film, Lena Vurma. Thank you very much, Lena, for being here. And Thor Klein, welcome back. Thank you for being here again. I promise to ask different questions tonight.
Oh, good. Thank you, Isaac, for having us.
Just for my sake.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as we are not that many now, we can spill all the secrets. We can tell you in confidence. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. The recording happening right here will not influence us at all. I wanted to start with actually the very, very end. This is based on a book. That's the last title, I believe. Tell us how you developed it from the book, how close it is to the book, and how close that book is to reality from the research.
For me, it started way back when I was about 13 years old. I discovered these guys in another book in the library in my hometown in the southwestern part of Germany. It was called Who's Got Einstein's Office, and it was a story about the Institute for Advanced Study on the east coast of the US. And in this book, they were also Stan and Johnny, and they were driving fancy cars and throwing parties, and I wanted to become a mathematician because obviously they were so much more interesting than the boring math teachers I had in school. But at the same time, I wasn't very talented in mathematics, but I thought maybe I'm just a late riser. And when I was about 16, I was sitting next to a guy, and it was clear I'm not a late riser, I'm just not talented. Which threw me in a big crisis. But at the same time, I had a literature teacher who made me aware of that I might have been more interested in the stories of these people and their ideas rather than doing the math myself. So I kept reading about them. And one day I came across Stan's book, Adventures of a Mathematician. And it's fascinated me because it had this beautiful friendship between Stan and Johnny in the center of it. The book is written very anecdotal, and I should say, this is a secret, that it was actually written by his wife. Because Stan was quite a lazy guy, and he would talk and she would record it, and then she would, because she was also a fantastic writer, she would write it actually. The great thing is the book feels a bit as spending an evening with these guys, you know, they telling you the stories, and it's very much about the characters in this world, and you learn the you learn about their mathematics through their characters and through their idiosyncrasies and all of that, and that's what I tried to also do when I turned it into a screenplay. I focused really on the characters and their relationships, and I tried to connect the mathematics to the feelings. That was what intrigued me, because the fact that they lost all their families in Europe and they only had each other made these friendships so intense. And this is also what you can read in the book between the lines. You know, Stan was someone who was a great storyteller himself, but you would also need to read between the lines to understand the whole drama that was going on, and that was a bit my approach to it.
And I think also back then, when the book came out, stuff was still kind of classified. So what Thor added to the book was, like, in his own research, kind of uncover things that were not in the book because they were still classified.
Yeah.
And it looks fabulous. The production is amazing, and I was shocked to learn last night that this was not shot in the U.S. at all. I think we listed it the wrong way, what country was this movie made in? Is this an American film? Is this a German film? Is this a Polish film? Is this a Czech film? There's a few more in there, but.
Well, I mean, I'm half Swiss, half Czech, but it's not a Czech film and not a Swiss film. So actually we shot 90% in Europe and 10% in the US. and we just made Europe look like the US by exchanging every light switch and doorknob and window to make it look like in the US in the 30s and 40s. But most of it we shot in Germany, as we live in Germany, and we got the most money out of Germany. So wherever you get money for a film, you basically also have to shoot it. So most of it we got in Germany, and then some out of Poland, because for us it was very important, because Stan Ulam was Polish, to collaborate with Poland. And so we shot in Łódź in Poland as well. And then like the big landscapes, we had a small American crew, and we shot on the Ghost Ranch in Abiquiu in New Mexico. So very close, actually.
But we spent a lot of time in New Mexico, and also brought the production designer there, the cinematographer we brought there, and because the light in New Mexico is very different in a sense that it's it's reflected by the soil in a particular way, and I knew we needed to recreate this in Germany. And so we had quite a hard time finding a spot where we could rebuild the place. And ironically, we found it on a former Russian airfield in East Germany, which was also somehow secret. And so to shoot the most secret place in the US in the 40s on a former secret Russian place was a bit ironic.
Yeah, and I think also maybe to add, so we of course also went to a lot of archives, and we worked together with the Los Alamos Historical Society. So basically, we rebuilt Los Alamos in Germany on this former Russian airfield.
It's definitely irony there. I'm going to ask two more questions, and then if there's questions from the audience, I'd be happy to take some. But I wanted to dive in a little bit to the ethical questions of the film, and I love it that the film, yes, does focus on friendships and the characters, but also does not ignore the fact, like I keep thinking to myself, oh, was he a good guy or a bad guy? When you look at history, like, you know, this is a man who helped. The questions are all brought up there, and of course, history might look at him very differently, and I feel like there's an argument that's made in the movie in both directions, actually. How are you approaching all of that and putting that into the film?
It's very ambivalent, and there was one scene in the book that for me is a little bit the key to this moral issue. The scene when Johnny returns after the test and talks to Stan. This is literally taken out of the book. And he returns and he is shocked. He's devastated, and he asks himself, is this the right thing, what we're doing here, after he's seen the explosion? But then the next day he's back on again. Like, he's really, because they carried on the work, and on one hand, you know, everybody knows the famous Oppenheimer scene, you know, and his the tormented guy, that was there. But on the other hand, you can only understand the moral implications when you know where these guys were coming from. Essentially, if you take someone like Edward Teller, who's a Hungarian, he experienced Russia invading his country. So for him, this was, and even today, when you go to as further east you go, as more suspicious are people of Russia. Whereabouts in Western Europe, it's a different approach. It's a bit, historically, it's a complicated issue, but there is more of the desire for a dialogue, whereabouts, because the Russians always considered Eastern Europe as their sphere of influence, people are very suspicious about them. And if you know this about Edward Teller, you understand why he was also early on advocating for the Cold War, essentially. I think it's good that their decisions and the characters should be debated. That was my goal from the start. But what I found interesting is that the moral question has so many layers. It goes so much beyond just the humanistic view of things, that this is obviously wrong to drop these bombs. It goes way deeper. And also, when you have someone like Stan, who on one hand shows this moral conscience, but on the other hand, in the end, he says to Johnny, "But we had a responsibility." So they themselves, I think, were not really. I mean, you cannot be clear on that because everybody would acknowledge that. I think maybe Edward not, but all the others would acknowledge that it was wrong to drop these 2 bombs.
My last question before we end, if you have any, let's prepare them now. Is you were just while the screening was going on, you were doing another Q&A, cheating on us a little bit with Johns Hopkins University, and it's great that this film has so many niches. It has, it's gone to a lot of Jewish film festivals. It plays in mainstream festivals. It's a drama. It can draw a lot of audiences. I'm really curious to know how a group of mathematicians and scientists see this film in a unique way that maybe our audience less so.
We had a few screenings now also with the MIT. I think some people know about these guys. Other mathematicians don't know. I think the big difference between this generation of mathematicians and the generations nowadays is that back in the days it was still possible to know about various fields of mathematics. You could really get an idea about not all of mathematics, but a big chunk of mathematics. And that's what allowed them to draw certain analogies and make connections that others did not make. And today, science is very specialized. Everyone has their own little square. And I think for a lot of the mathematicians I discussed with, they also have this desire, to think in big ideas, but somehow they're a little bit trapped in the way because of where science is at the moment. But on the other hand, I think we have to find a way. Also, that I get that from the scientific community. We have to find a way to break out of this deadlock a little bit, and because if we want to solve the problems in the future, we need to connect things again. Like we need to make them. We separated all of that, which there was good reason to do that, but now we have to connect it, and I think that's what the conversation circled around a little bit so far with the young mathematicians.
Very interesting. Are there questions from the audience? We got
Yes.
one in the back.
So, in a film about the bomb, we never see a nuclear explosion. We never see a bomb detonated or not detonated. Was this a financial restraint, or were there other considerations behind the choice?
No, that was actually a decision that I made early on. Because the mushroom cloud became such an icon of pop culture in a way, and I think the image lost its power, its impact, because it's everywhere. Everybody has seen it a million times, and I was not so interested in showing this because I did not see a way of showing this in a way that really convinced me, and I wanted to see it in the personal relationships between these people. I really wanted to feel it there, and have this absent the actual image.
And maybe to add, I mean, as a producer, I would have blown up something for Thor, but but no, it was really the concept from the beginning. Also because Thor really wanted to stay close to Stan Ulam, our protagonist, and actually he didn't go to the first test, so that's true. And of course, he didn't see the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And at the same time, I mean, the decision was also to not show the Holocaust in Europe, but to kind of stay with the group of people who weren't there, but kind of suffer from not being there or not kind of witnessing it as well. So that was a conscious decision. But it's a really good question, thank you. And also maybe to add, yes, on the American poster there is the mushroom cloud, but yeah, on the European one there isn't.
Leave it to the Americans. Question over here.
I found it interesting, you just referenced this, about all the stuff that was going on in Europe, and especially with Stan's family, and I guess what's playing in the back of his mind. I think what I was wondering about is, through your research, how much was actually known by people in America regarding what is going on? Because I was under the impression that they had a vague sense about the death camps and things like that, but the actual gravity of the situation was not understood.
As far as I found out during my research, in 43, there were the first rumors in the US about the death camps, essentially, the concentration camps. That's also why I put it in the dialogue with Edward, that he would say this to Stan. The full picture, of course, came out in the years right after 45. They would then people start to understand the whole thing, and also Stan learned in these days about the whole thing. So yeah, for sure, a lot of things were known, but not the whole picture.
Any other questions? Yes, one more back there.
It struck me that Stan did not cry when he found out that his sister, Stefania, had died. And I was wondering if any of his descendants are still living.
No, he lost. I think the close family. He lost everybody, and also Françoise lost everybody. So this is also something that, not only. I mean, when I put myself in his situation, not only did he lose his family, but also he lost his friend a little bit later, and also there was another close friend that I did not put in the film because at some point I had to focus on certain characters. There was Enrico Fermi, the famous Italian physicist, who was also a close friend of him, and he also lost him. So he lost a lot of people in a short amount of time, and I think this is also again that's why they focused so much on Los Alamos. It became their home essentially. So yeah, it's hard to comprehend how this must have felt.
And I think maybe to comment on, he didn't cry when he found out about Stefania. I think he was somehow someone who couldn't comprehend or didn't want to kind of get the feelings to him, and that kind of led to his inflammation of the brain and kind of his breakdown. So it kind of, Thor always had the analogy of this pressure building up in the hydrogen bomb kind of is a mirror to how he felt and his feelings. And just in the end, when his best and closest friend Johnny dies, he kind of can let go of all the loss he experienced during these years.
I will also share that his granddaughter was here with us last night, and she is still alive, so, and well, young.
True.
Yeah, she couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately, because she gets a big award tonight for her achievements. She's also a very intelligent woman, kind of coming after Stan. And also, I mean, I have to say that the whole family supported our project. Also, Claire, who you've seen as a baby in the movie, she supported us in research, and we could look at all the photo albums of Reel, Stan, and Françoise and Claire, and also the nephew of Stan, so the son of Adam. He also lives in New York, and actually Thor and Alex, the nephew, they both went to Lviv, which is now Lviv in the Ukraine, and did a research tour. So it was all very connected.
Thank you both so much for being here. Thank you for a wonderful film.
Thank you all for asking these great questions. Thank you. Thank you, Isaac.
And we hope to see you all soon. Take care.